Yes, welcome everyone here to the Smash Sport Show right here on Smash FM here on our 10th year of the station. We're heading up to our friends up in the top end. Of course, we're heading to Darwin, and of course, it is getting very close to the end of the season up there, of course, in the NTFL. And of course, we've got three very special guests joining us from the Tracy Village Football Club, and they join us right now. Thanks all three for joining us.
No worries. Thanks for having us. Thank you.
No worries. Well, we'll get each of you to introduce yourselves and tell us what position you'll play on the field.
I'll start. So my name's Kerry, and I've been playing footy for a couple of years now, and my position is vast, diverse, dependent on need. I can play anywhere in the midfield, right, forward, back, doesn't really matter. But yeah, mainly around the midfield.
Cool. I'm Christelle Jonesy. I'm the head coach at the Prem team and also coach for the Div 2 women's.
I'm Zoe, captain of the Premier League women's team. I play in the midfield. Used to be a back woman, but yeah, mostly in the midfield now.
Been a pretty tough year for the team. I guess in regards to obviously the results, but also I guess with the pandemic and all that sort of things. How has the team adapted to the season? And has the season been shortened from the previous season?
Yeah, so COVID obviously has affected everyone across Australia a little bit different. We're lucky up in the NT, it hasn't affected us as much. However, it's restricted us with obviously a lot of fly-in, fly-out players, anybody that goes away with work or on holidays that have been struck on the East Coast and restricted to coming back. In regards to obviously the season, it's pretty much the same length as normal. We kicked off in October, and then pretty much we're coming up to our last home and away game this Saturday, the 20th, and then we'll roll into finals for both teams actually.
Now mention about I guess especially the players around the competition that had to fly in, fly out from work and all that sort of things. Did you have that same problem this year, like all the other clubs have?
So Tracy Village is probably going through a lot of rebuild at the moment. So we haven't really targeted any players in Victoria to fly in. We're really about rebooting the AFL culture here and actually sourcing the local talent within our own area. So we've got not only the Darwin area, but we can go all the way out to Katherine, Jabiru, etc. So we have really made a big factor this year of bringing up two teams, the first season for Div 2, but also just looking within Darwin and just getting the local players on board first.
How big is that to, I guess, grow, the club, and especially, I guess, the talent pool for your club? Not just in Darwin, but south of Darwin as well, to like the Katherine and I guess south of that as well.
I think club-wise, it's hard when you fly out players because some of the times they don't stay for the whole season. They come up and then they leave. So it's hard to keep that, I guess, mateship, I'd say, within the club. So it's good to keep people that are going to be around for a while, especially when you're rebuilding. So yeah, you'll stick around, you'll have friends like for years, and especially rebuilding as well. You want to be consistent and competitive with the people that you have in the club as well. So it is hard with other clubs that have players flying up and then they leave. And they're also taking other spots for other people that have been playing at the club for a long time too.
And we did find there were a few clubs up here that were taking a lot of those players on from Victoria, and then when they started to come back for training for VFLW and AFLW, they all had to go. So we're actually able to keep our core group the same, and we're not reliant on those flying players, which has been excellent.
There's probably one additional point is also AFL women's footy in general is growing very quickly, not only down south but up here. So go back to 5 years ago, AFL women's were still trialling, are we getting any airtime, etc. And now we're starting to see clubs growing. So we went from having about 20 odd players on the books every week last year to we've got 62 players now on the books, and that's why we're able to stand up the Div 2. Not only is our club growing, the whole competition is growing up here. So it's just going to get stronger and stronger. But the club and the league itself up here needs to rely on local players and grow within. And then potentially, nice to have one or two people can fly in, but it all starts with the ground roots here, and that's developing them from juniors. So under 12s now, we've got women's under 14, we've got under 16s next year, and it's just growing them into the under 18s, Div 2, and then to the Prems. So that way it's a story from start to finish.
Talking about locals, and especially the homegrown up there, tell us a couple of the, I guess, the youth players and the young talent coming through there at Tracy Village, and maybe a couple of them we should watch out for future years to come.
So we currently, this year, it's under 15s. So we've got 21 players that generally play. There's probably two or maybe three actually standout players. We've got Amber, Kanisha, and Rani. They are definitely watch this space. Amber, number 8 for Tracy Village this year, is fantastic. Not only does she do the ruck work, she plays midfield, she chases it up, and she kicked, I think, 5 goals on the weekend against Southern Districts. So for a midfield player, that is fantastic.
I guess tell us a bit about the game, for her game in particular, from the coaching point of view, but also from the playing point of view.
The coach is Leary for the under 15s, but I was able to run, was their runner for that game. But Amber was positioned in the right spot every time. She just worked really hard at the ball, never gives up. I think the team itself scored 108 points to 0 against Southern Districts, which was great. But the girls are just sharing it around. But Amber's work ethic across the field is definitely something to watch this space in future years.
Now, Coach, you must tell us about your 2 amazing players you got either side of you.
Well, I'll go to my left first. So this is Zoe, obviously captain, hands down. She's Mrs. Reliable, week in, week out. She carries the team on her shoulders out in the field, and obviously helps the coach out with a lot of things. But every week, she runs the 4 quarters. Very rarely does she come off. She averages probably about 30 to 40 disposals a game. She's identified as one of the hardest working players. To be honest, she makes my job a lot easier because she has that experience and she just has that leadership out in the field. Whereas a coach, obviously, I can't be out there. But yeah, no, credit's due. Hands down, probably one of our best players. So you can buy me a beer later. This one, Kiri's probably had one of the toughest seasons this year because she hasn't been able to settle into a position. On the weekend, I lost my ruckman or ruck person before the game had kicked off, and Kiri was identified by myself to say, "Hey, mate, you're going to step up and go into the ruck role." To our advantage, it was a wet game, so having that 4th midfield in there was fantastic for us. But getting the clearance out, she was fantastic. She also went down to the forward line. Unfortunately, a couple of shots at goal didn't go our way, but she's also been renowned to go in the back line and just play that tagging position on key forwards. So she's probably one of my versatile all-rounder player, which is what you want when you got standout people in the midfield. She just is able to fit the gap wherever I need to. So
Thanks, mate.
that's all right.
I'll get to what position they prefer to play in just a moment. But obviously, the 2 players, Kira and Zoe, you must tell us a bit about your amazing coach next to you.
Well, where do you start? Jonesy took this role on not long after the season started and originally came to the club in an assistance capacity, running water. I think everyone comes out to run water and then ends up with a job. Josie's job was the coach. So, she came on board and she has been absolutely instrumental in getting the numbers and keeping the numbers at the club as well. So your focus and the work that you do with the girls one-on-one as well as in a group is excellent. And the way that Jonesy can just create relationships with everyone that she works with is so good, from people that have never picked up a footy in their life to people like Zoe and Carly, who have got a couple of, up to, including junior games, a couple of 100 games under their belt. Jonesy can really work with everyone, and it's been a really long season for us, and just the patience and the love and the care that she's put into this team, and such a thankless job.
Yeah, I definitely think without Jonesy we wouldn't be where we are today, especially having one team, let alone two.
Yeah,
just that definitely would not have happened. It's just doing recruiting and everything behind the scenes that not many players see. There's definitely an advantage for all of us at the club. Without it, we wouldn't be here. Thanks, guys.
Now, I have to ask, for everyone, especially here in Melbourne or anywhere across the country other than NT, who have no idea where Tracy Village is, whereabouts is it?
So in the northern suburbs, and it's just out near the hospital. So if you it's very convenient when you have an injury, but no, it's in an urban area in the northern suburbs. So not far from TIO, not far from Casuarina, and then back towards the city is about 15-20 minutes. So yeah, northern suburbs.
Everywhere in Darwin is 20 minutes, so we're central. We're good.
Now, I have to ask all three, how did all three get involved in footy, and why did you choose it?
I used to play netball, and I played for a very long time. And I didn't get sick of it, but I just kind of wanted something different. And then my local club back home in Melbourne was starting up a team, and I got convinced by one of my friends to play. I was a bit hesitant at the start because I was doing year 12, and I was like, nah, I'll play next year. And then my sister finally convinced me to play. And yeah, haven't looked back, just been playing ever since.
I only came to footy last year, so footy came to me late in my life. Did a little bit at school, but nothing really worth writing home about. And then came out just to train and to get some fitness up for the off season of netball, because that's where I started as well. And then came out and said, I'll run water, I'll do this. And then within the first half an hour, you signed up ready to play the following Saturday. So yeah, that's how I came to footy.
I was lucky enough, I played footy when I was at school on and off, but going back in the 80s and 90s, women's footy wasn't really a thing. I played in my brother's team, and I played up to about 15, 16, and then I was tapped on the shoulder to say, thanks, you're too big now. You can't play in under 17s. You need to go find a women's sport. So that was back in the mid to late 90s. Throughout probably the last 10, 15 years, I've been fortunate enough to play different competitions along the East Coast in Canberra, Brisbane, Townsville. But now that I'm getting a little bit on, I've decided to hang up my boots as a player and then go the coaching stream to be able to participate and actually have a part in the development and the mentoring of women's footy, and just to even watch these under 15s that get to play with under 15 girls is fantastic, but also to have a Prem League in every state around Australia, but also divisions underneath. It's really watch this space with women's footy. It's going to be fantastic.
Now, Zoe, I need to ask you this question. You said you're from Victoria. I have to ask, what part of Victoria are you from, and do you miss Vic?
I'm from Bacchus Marsh. I do miss it sometimes. Probably not now, being in a pandemic. I'm not really keen to go back home anytime soon. Darwin's another world up here. It's completely different to Melbourne and everything. There's no COVID. It's a whole new world up here.
Thanks.
Yeah, I do with my family and everyone back home, but yeah, probably won't be going back anytime soon.
That's fair enough. I agree with that one. Now, of course, Coach, I have to ask you this question. You mentioned that you played in Queensland, especially in Brizzy.
Yep.
What club did you play down in Brizzy?
So Brizzy, I played out near Aspley just for about one season. Before that, I was down in Canberra, which was part of the ADFA Youths. And then before that, when I was younger, Albury Wodonga is where I grew up, which was I played in the sort of the local Ovens and King League back in the day.
Do you miss any of those places?
I think Victoria is probably one of the heart and souls of where AFL grew up, and that's where my family is as well. I'm quite lucky enough with work. I get to move around a little bit, but Darwin just seems to be a great place to live at the moment. It's relaxed. It's very laid back. It's not dealing with a lot of the pandemic that the rest of the East Coast is. So we're very fortunate that we get to come to training, we get to play on Saturdays, and we get to have a few soft drinks after the game.
Now, I did say I was going to come back to this question. Now, be very careful answer it, the two players next to the coach, which is, if you had a preferred position on the field where you love to convince Jonesy to put you, where would that be?
I think I'll stay in the midfield. I think you can do a bit of everything in there, and you kind of get free roam to not do what you want, but you can kind of just run around and not be stuck. Like in the forward line, you've got to be there. In the back line, you got to like stick in the back line, whereas the midfield, you can run around and do whatever the coach says.
Kerry?
I would love, so two things, and there's caveats on both. I'd like to play centre half forward in a fully functioning back to top team, and just that centre half forward position and just anchor in the middle. Also, really, really happy playing in the midfield, but just wish I had like more legs to just keep going all the time.
Now, I have to ask, what does the sport of football mean to all three of you, and especially being there at Tracy Village?
It's like, I think this year the big overarching theme, I think, for all of us would just be mateship and team, like just really strong footy family for us. I think this year the footy family, I know for me that's been a really big thing, and I think that's what's carried us through this year. And for me, like Darwin can be a really, it's a really isolated place. We're all away from our families. We're all, all the girls here, everyone that's here, we're, you know, very few of us are from Darwin. So we are each other's family, and that's, and you can hear them all yelling now. And we're each other's families, and we spend more time with, we spend a lot more time with these people than we do with, like, you know, people that we live with. So it's really important that we all get along.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think too, especially in a team up in Darwin, I guess back home in Melbourne it's a bit different because you're with your family, with your friends. You don't, I guess, spend as much time with them as you would as like a team up here. And being a team that hasn't been very successful this season, I think the mateship's been a big thing as well, because yes, we're not winning on game day, but we spend a lot of time with each other outside of footy as well, and just build that relationship with each other, and still have a good time. Like, yes, we lose every game, but we still have a good time doing it, and it doesn't feel like we're losing. We still feel like we're like winners in our own right.
Oh, well, I reckon this year to see these girls go, yeah, they haven't been successful in the Prem League. They have been successful somewhat though in Div 2, so there are wins, and the juniors are killing it as well. So it's all about development and about looking forward to next year. So yes, we might be not getting the scores we want on match day, but we're having so many wins off the field, and that's what makes a club so great. It's your reserves and the depth and what's to come. If you don't have a good culture off the field, then you might be a fantastic team this year, but next year, why would you want to go to that team? Right now, we have a lot of defence members, we have medics, hospital, shift workers, ambulance, emergency services, and we cater that. We train twice a week, we play Wednesday night and we play Saturdays. Sometimes the girls can't get here because of shift work. We take that on to account, so the girls don't feel left out, that they're not going to make selection because of their work. Being women playing sport, unfortunately, we need to obviously have a job to pay the bills, but we also want to have footy on the side. So it's not about sacrificing footy for your work. It's actually trying to bring the two together. And Tracy Village stands for that. It's all about growing this club, understanding everyone's need, accepting all types of people, all different races, tall, short, young, old. We pretty much will accept everyone. And it's all about just understanding and respect. And if you look at any of the morals and what we stand for as NTAFL, it's all about respect, courage, commitment, And it's all about what's the future is going to be when we passed over the baton to these under 15s when they're sitting here being the future captain of Tracy Village with 5 premierships under their belt.
I was going to mention about the record at the moment. So, but I have to ask, for everyone that should get involved in footy, especially up in the NT, what would be your advice, and especially get down to Tracy Village?
I think just give it a go. Like a lot of people, I know from last season we lost a lot of players, and it was a bit hard to convince a few to come back or convince people from other sports to come over and give it a try. But then with the girls that we have now from like netball, basketball, soccer, whatever, we said just come down, come to one training, give it a go, and they've never looked back. Like they love it. But yeah, it's just convincing them to come, give it a try, and go from there. But yeah, come down, give it a go. If you're worried about, I've never played before, who cares? Like you've got to start somewhere. So just give it a shot. You never know.
And you always tell them that tackling doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
It just looks bad.
Yeah.
Now, footy's AFL's a fun sport. It's fun to watch, but it's even better to play. It's something that it's athletic. You need to be fit. You need to be strong. You need to be able to bump people out of the way. You need to be able to pivot. You can kick backwards. You can kick forwards. There's none of this offside rule. So it factors in all skill level. A lot of people that have made the transition this year from rugby to footy have really said, oh, my God, I didn't realise how hard AFL was. But they walk off the field with the biggest grin on their faces going, oh, my God, I did that kick. I took that mark. I actually tackled that girl. So the fact that they're enjoying it, we're actually recruiting more and more every time. And it wouldn't just be Tracy Village, it's footy in general.
Now, we'll quickly finish up with a couple of lighthearted questions before you get into training, which is, who had the most embarrassing moments on the field this season, and what was it?
You got a falcon in
Yeah,
the
I
face.
think a falcon, but a black eye out of it. So that was, it looked cool.
One of our fullback bent over to pick up a ball and the back of her shorts split open. That was pretty good.
And one of the girls, brand new, I don't know if it was Prem or did too, she picked up the ball, broke through the clearance, fantastic. No wonder why no one was chasing her. She was running the wrong way and kicked it the other direction. So at least it went to our player. But, I think we've had a few good moments this year that we'll recap and tell a few stories next week.
Oh. Now, I have to ask, who's the comedian, the best singer, and best dancer on the team?
Frankie.
Yeah,
Frankie's
Frankie.
pretty funny.
Yeah,
Frankie's feedback.
yeah.
Frances Anna. Where's she from? She's from Melbourne.
She's from Melbourne.
Yeah, she's from Melbourne. She's played footy down there, and Frankie's feedback is always valuable to all of us. She's very good at giving everyone some tips.
Especially the umpire when she doesn't think it's going our way. She's very clear to tell the umpire, hey, in a polite and respectful manner, of course. She likes to give her opinion.
Frankie's feedback.
Frankie's feedback as the comedian.
all the way from full forward too. You can hear her yelling out.
Dancing,
What about
Functions.
functions?
Move at the ball.
Cat White.
Oh yeah, that white.
Sarah.
Wally probably got down.
Yeah,
there too.
Wally. Yeah, we've
The
got a
tall
few
girls.
actually.
The tall girls.
All the girls like to dance after a few soft drinks.
And we'll finish off this one last one, which is, do either of you have a pre-game superstition or ritual?
I like to make sure my boots aren't too tight, and I need to make sure my socks aren't all like scrunched up in my boots, so I just run around feeling very uncomfortable. So if I get it wrong, I have to take them off and put them back on again until I get it right.
I did not know that one, so thank you. So this Saturday, I'm going to keep an eye on that one. So, and we're also in for a really good chance this Saturday to actually beat Wanderers. So
Yes.
watch this space and look at the scoreboard next week.
Okay.
I have a specific way that I pack my bag. You can imagine it. Anyway, so has to go towel, footy boots, shorts, socks. And then on the other side, I put my clothes for afterwards and my sandals and stuff. And then also I've got this ribbon that I've worn for netball and for footy for the last 6 years. And I've always worn this yellow and white ribbon and I can't let it go.
Okay, well, please let us know how that one goes too, Coach.
All right. Josie,
Um,
what's your pre-game ritual? Apart
Uh,
from yelling at us.
I'm a stickler for my timings. Yeah, I put things right down to timing. So an hour and a half. I generally get here 2 hours beforehand as a minimum. If the boys are playing before us, I'll watch them. But I work off the 2 hours, and then 1.5 hours I've got the change room set up for the girls, and then all the way down to 2 minutes beforehand when the girls run out. So I'd probably time manage more than probably what I should. And as you can see, I even have a whiteboard marker in my hand now.
Also, one more thing for a pre-game ritual is sunscreen in Darwin.
Oh,
Yeah,
sunscreen is so
sunscreen, special for pale people. Yeah, you need it.
Well, all three, thank you so much for giving up your time during training now.
okay.
And thank you, Coach, for giving us the opportunity to do it halfway through your training session. Best of luck for the last game against Wanderers. Let's hope that win is coming around the corner before the end of the season, but especially the amazing results that obviously you did too, and obviously your juniors have gone so far. And please send our best wishes to the other three teams as well.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for that.
No worries. And that's, of course, the Tracy Village women's football team. Of course, you want to get involved with them, of course, for the rest of this season, and of course into next year, which starts in about October, November again next year. Of course, we'll put all the details up on how you can go about, of course, get involved in playing the sport of footy up there in the NT. There's more on the Smash Sport Show right after this. Don't go away here on the 10th year celebration.